make pineapples normal again. How crazy that the devil can pervert such a darling fruit. We discussed this last episode, and some of you guys had the funniest things to say because a lot of us didn't know that an upside down pineapple meant swingers. And so I'm going to discuss some of the things that you guys said during the group chat today, and also some new things that I learned here in hannahTEA, some juicy stuff that we're going to talk about in hannahTEA today. We'll kick off today's episode with that. And then also we're going to transition to this episode being about homeschooling, why we decided to homeschool, our experience with it so far, unfiltered experience. I'm going to talk about the good. I'm going to talk about the bad. We're going to go into all of it and some of your questions about why we did it, but also if it's good for you guys and what you could possibly do for your own family. So here we are with the Lighten Up Podcast. Thank you so much again for joining. Let's get to it. Welcome back to the Lighten Up Podcast, guys. I am your host, Hannah Cruz. This is your podcast where joy in Jesus meets the craziness of real life. We are unfiltered here. We talk about things that you probably wouldn't discuss in your small group, but we're girlfriends. And so we'll discuss all of it, the raw, the real, the funny, the crazy, and also the inspiring and the edifying stuff that we all want to learn about when it comes to our walk with the Lord. So thank you again so much for joining. This is our 4th episode. We're just starting this. This is a new journey for us. But I'm excited that you're following along, and I'm so excited about the response that we've gotten so far. The response has been phenomenal. It's been so much fun. I am so excited about it. Guys, we actually also started a new Instagram account, so I would love for you to go follow the Lighten Up Instagram account. We're putting the little handle right here in front of you on your screen if you're watching us right here on YouTube. But if you're listening, it's at the lightenup.podcast on Instagram. So feel free to go and follow us there. We will be sharing some extra clips there that I might not be sharing on my personal Instagram account. So be sure to go follow us there, engage with us there. It is a blast. We're going to kick it off today, though, going straight into hannahTEA, not to be confused with Sean Hannity from Fox News. No, this is hannahTEA. This is where we discuss all the juicy stuff that happens in real life, whether it's pop culture, whether it's stuff going on around the world, whether it's stuff going on in our personal lives. We talk about it right here in hannahTEA. So speaking of celebrities, last episode, we briefly talked about Tim Tebow, his little testimony, some of the things that really helped him to become a confident man of God because of some of the things that his mom said. So we loved that. We loved talking about Tim. Tim is the best. We love Tim. But what was really cool is actually this week, as I was scrolling through the internet, I saw this really cool headline that flowed exactly with what we talked about last week concerning Tim Tebow and his confidence level. So take a look at this picture right here on your screen. This is an article that was posted by the Today Show, and look at the headline. It says, Tim Tebow reveals how having dyslexia helped him achieve success. God's never made a mistake. What? We literally were talking about that last week. God doesn't make mistakes. We discussed it very deeply in detail, how God literally thinks of you as his masterpiece. You are his perfect piece of art. And so whenever he created you, every single part of you, whether it's the good things or the things that you consider are bad things, he doesn't make mistakes. He makes everybody uniquely. And so I thought this headline was the coolest because it just kind of confirms some things. I love whenever God just confirms little things. It just kind of makes us feel seen, makes us feel known, makes us feel like, you know what? We're really not here alone on this earth. He really pays attention to all these little details. So I just thought it was a cool thing to flow into the fact that I saw that headline. So yay, love it. Love the fact that Tim Tebow believes that, and the fact that we can believe that God is truly good in the way that he created us and in our lives and what he wants to do in us and through us. But of course, we can't not discuss this pineapple situation in hannahTEA this week. Forget Make America Great Again. Forget Make America Healthy again. Make pineapples normal again. Okay? It doesn't have the same ring to it as MAGA does or MAHA does. It's like MPNA, Mapuna, Mapina, Mapna, Mupna, Mapana. I don't know. Doesn't have the same ring to it. But let's do it. Let's make pineapples normal again. How annoying that the devil can pervert such a darling fruit, just like he can pervert the rainbow. I'm sick of it. So we discussed what an upside down pineapple means in the pervert world. And I had no idea about it. A lot of you had no idea about it. A lot of you actually said that a pineapple represents, in Hawaii specifically, it's a sign of hospitality. And apparently in other parts of the world, the pineapple is a sign of hospitality. That's so much nicer. That makes so much more sense. And that's so much more godly, honestly. But we all did get a good laugh about it. And some of your comments had me absolutely shook. In fact, as I was looking through some of the comments on the Instagram reel that I posted on Instagram, my aunt in particular, okay, this aunt, I got to warn you, this aunt is one of those aunts that is slightly crazy, but loves you with everything in her. And she will absolutely fight or slash or kill or do anything to anybody that tries to hurt you. She is one of those aunts. And in my comments, she said something about, hey, like you should look into how a pineapple is put into the front seat of a grocery cart and what that actually means. And she says, and also something about white stacked rocks in people's front yard could also mean the same thing with swingers. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Mimi, what are you talking about? So you know me, I had to look it up. I had to look up all the different things that swingers might represent themselves with and all the different signs, the different symbols and that kind of thing. But I was just curious. So I did some searching and I looked it up. Guys, I had no idea about any of these. And honestly, some of these freaked me out because I was like, I have that in my backyard and I'm certainly not a swinger. So some of these are really crazy and they shocked me. And so I found it interesting. So I wanted to show you what I found. So some of the things apparently that swingers do to let other swingers know that they are swingers is these. For example, pampas grass in the front yard. Hey, don't be gardening with pampas grass in your front yard. You might be telling somebody something. Also, a black ring on the right hand or switching the wedding ring to the right hand. A pineapple placed upside down in the shopping cart. A pineapple door knocker. White landscaping rocks in someone's front yard. A fire pit or a hot tub in the yard. All of these are ridiculous. Anklets. Wearing a red ball cap. Oh, that's it. Everybody in MAGA. They're all swingers. They're all swingers. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. Or a yin yang tattoo. So again, that doesn't mean nothing. None of those mean nothing. But if you see someone that has all of the above, then maybe you should be a little wary about that person. Maybe you shouldn't go hang out with them too much. Anyways, I found that actually quite hilarious. But some of y'all's comments made me even laugh so much harder. I love it. And I love this part of our Lighten Up podcast. This is the group chat. So let's feature some of you guys' comments. Let's feature some of your thoughts. Let's feature some of your revelations, some of the things that you had no idea about, but also some of the things that have made me laugh in your personal story. So let's check it out. This first comment is from Tanya, and she said, yeah, so I had no clue either up until a couple of years ago. I bought my husband a pair of pineapple swimming trunks, and apparently upside down ones means something that you're looking. So it means like you're looking for swinging partners. So pineapples are amazing, but now they're ruined. Honestly, Tanya, it does ruin stuff, doesn't it? Ugh. I hate the devil, that dumb devil. I'm so sick and tired of him ruining everything. Another comment that we got, let's check it out. Oh, Sarah, her name is Sarah. And Sarah said this, I knew because Colby, I'm assuming Colby is her husband. No, T. Oh, gosh. Hey, stop barking, dog. Sorry, my dog's in here. She's attached at the hip to me, and sometimes she sees squirrels. So if you hear her barking, just ignore her. That's sweet, T. You're being unsweet right now, T. So again, she said, I knew because Colby told me there's politicians and lawyers here in Corpus Christi who have pineapple stuff on their front door or their patio. Ew. I don't want no politician to be leading me and also leading that kind of lifestyle. No thanks. Another comment that I got on Facebook. This is from Megan. She's a friend of mine that I grew up with. This is about cracking me up. So a side note on Megan, she owns like a plumbing business. And this is what she said. She goes, Hannah. She goes, I see them all the time when we do work at retirement trailer parks. Do y'all know that old people are some of the wildest ones? I mean, 60 and above in these retirement parks, they do some freaky stuff. They're pretty freaky sometimes. Poor Megan. I'm sorry, Megan. No idea. Celeste says, I learned this 2 years ago. Why do all the cute things turn into something crazy? Yeah, exactly. Because again, that's exactly how the devil works. He takes something beautiful or something wonderful that God has made and he tries to twist it and make it his own. What a loser. Devil is such a loser. Okay, next comment This one was also funny too. So this is from Melissa, and it says, so we were camping a couple summers ago. I had just bought a cute yellow bike with a pineapple cup holder. Riding around the campsite, so happy about my new bike, and I had several couples ride up alongside me and say, I love your pineapple bike. And I said, oh, thank you. I love my pineapple bike. They would circle back around and follow me. I thought it was so cute that people loved my bike until I found out why. Oh yeah, and then she sent me a picture of the bike that she bought. This is her bike. Oh, poor Melissa. Poor thing. So that's what she said. But then this was really interesting. This one I found fascinating, actually. And I like this so much better than the twisted version of what swingers have tried to use the pineapple for. But this comment is from Sarah Lansing, and this is what she says. She says, funny story. Here in Virginia, you see a lot of pineapples above doorways on stately colonial homes. It's a sign of hospitality and has been for a long time. So when I moved here, I thought it would be great to adorn our door with a pineapple. My then fiance schooled me on why we were not going to do that, and I didn't know either. So she did. She sent me a couple of photos that describe exactly what these homes show. So take a look at this picture right here. This picture is of a pineapple over the top of the doorway of a colonial looking house. Like, I think it's cute. I think it's pretty. And again, it means hospitality, people. So come on, man. Let's make pineapples normal again. Let's make them about hospitality. Let's make them about being a delicious fruit. And let's also think about it the way that we discussed it last episode, which was a pineapple could be a symbol of confidence. You know, where a confident woman is like a pineapple. She stands tall, she wears a crown, and she's sweet on the inside. I like that so much better. So we're going to make pineapples normal again. We're going to make this a movement. How about that? We'll make it a movement for everybody, and we'll get rid of this twisted meaning. But I found that hilarious to be featured on hannahTEA this week, and all of your comments here on the group chat. Hope that was entertaining. Hope that was fun. So thank you again to everybody that commented, that participated, and had some hilarious things to say. And of course, we want to feature you guys on the group chat too. So we would love it if you go to my website, hannahcruzblog.com/podcast, and you can input your questions, your comments, your wild stories. We would love to hear them. We would love to feature them on the group chat. Now, sometimes what we also love to do is on Instagram, you can follow me at hannahcruz.blog. I might post a question in my stories, so be sure to follow along in the stories, or also our new Instagram account, which is at the Lighten Up Podcast. So please follow us there. We'll post some questions in there that maybe you can answer that we will be featuring on the group chat. And if you have a great answer, we will feature it right here. But now we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of today's episode, which is our homeschooling journey, why we even decided to do this in the first place. I will be honest with you, this was one of the scariest decisions that I've ever made, probably because I did not think that I was going to be well equipped for something like this. I didn't think that I would be a good teacher. I thought that my kids would hate me for losing my temper, and that I would be the mean mom, and then they would just resent me for the rest of their lives. There was so many fears that I had surrounding the idea of homeschooling. And then, of course, I grew up going to private school, and I loved my private school. I loved being around my friends. I loved just the community and the camaraderie, and I loved not feeling like I was missing out on anything. And so I feared that my children would also have that same feeling. But here's where it began. The whole idea of this was not my idea at all. Not my husband's idea at all either. This was my children's idea. 100% their idea. They had been begging us for years. Mommy, we just want to homeschool. We just want to homeschool. We just want to be here at the house, and we can do it, Mom. We can homeschool. And my husband and I would look at each other like, oh my gosh, like they really want to do this. We're like, no, guys, like we would try to justify it in our minds. Like, we're too busy. We have too much going on. I have to work. And whenever he's home, if he's not traveling, he has to work. And so there was lots of things that we were telling our kids, no, you're going to private school. We loved our school. There was nothing wrong with our private school. In fact, I loved saying to people whenever they were in private school, I always have wanted our children to be surrounded by a group of godly women that will help me raise these children. And so I wanted an army of Christian women to mentor them, to teach them the word of God, to teach them how to learn, to sharpen their character. I loved that idea. And so, of course, from the time they were in preschool, up until now, my daughter's in 6th grade. So between preschool and 5th grade, she was always in private school. Same thing with my son, preschool all the way through 2nd grade, private school. Loved it. Had a nearly perfect experience. There was really nothing about our specific private school that we were like, oh, time to pull him out. It only boiled down to the fact that our kids kept asking. And so when they kept asking, and they were the ones that brought it up, we started really taking this into consideration. But I also started asking the Lord, what do you want? What do you want for our specific family? And that prayer kept continuing and kept going and going. And I kept praying that prayer. And I started noticing, and I've always noticed that my children, both of my children, are very close. They're so precious with each other. Of course, they have their days. They're going to fight sometimes, but they have a really close relationship. But within our little family, they also just like to be here. They like to be at home. They like to spend time with us. They like to just hang out here. We're all kind of homebodies. That's just kind of how our family is. We just like to be around each other, whether we're all together and doing stuff together here at the house, or whether we're just in our own space doing our own stuff. We just enjoy it. We like being here. And so I had to be honest with myself and think, what's going to be best for your family? Not what everyone else wants, not what your parents want, not what you think is, best for their minds or their growth. I mean, what's going to be best for your family? Especially their little spiritual lives and the new things, the new seasons that they're going to be growing into. Currently, my daughter's in 6th grade. When I was in 6th grade, sorry if you're a dude listening to this, but when I was in 6th grade, I started my period. So there was some new changes happening hormonally in my little life. And so I had to take all of that into consideration. If my kids are asking to homeschool, maybe I should really take it seriously. So after months and months of consideration, one night we had a fire going outside, a fire pit in the backyard. It means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. We're not swingers, but we do have a fire pit in the backyard. But we had our fire pit in the backyard and it was going, and this topic got brought up again. And we were just like, maybe we should pull the trigger for this coming school year, just to try it out. And of course, at the time, my husband was on the road constantly. So we were also thinking, well, maybe there's going to be a time where he'll be in a certain city or a certain location for a little bit longer than a couple of days, and we can go travel and see him, and that's a possibility. And so that night, I sat down in the room with the kids and I asked them point blank, guys, do you want to homeschool next year? I know you've been asking. And you would not believe the level of elation that they showed whenever I kind of was teetering that direction and giving them the option to choose if they wanted to stay in school with their friends or if they wanted to homeschool. They were so tickled and they were so excited. They started laughing and jumping and screaming, and I'm over here sobbing because I'm thinking I'm going to ruin them. I'm going to be the meanest, most impatient mom ever. And I was just freaking out. I was just like, oh my gosh, I think we're going to do this. I think we're actually going to do this. And so I had to email the school and let them know that this was going to be our decision for the next coming year. And it was terrifying. I was terrified. I hadn't done much research yet on what curriculum I wanted to use, on what program I was going to be doing to teach these kids. I had this was a blind step of faith that my husband and I were making, and we were just going to jump right into it and figure it out along the way. And so I was on a mission. I was on a mission to find the easiest program for me to use as a first-time homeschool mom. I did not want to be playing teacher constantly. I did not want to have to make lesson plans. I did not want to have to do all these extra things that seemed very overwhelming to me. Again, you know that I get overwhelmed pretty easily with all these new projects. And so I didn't want to overwhelm myself. I wanted to find something that was super simple. Even if it was all digital, that was fine with me. And so I did. I researched and I asked people on Instagram, what is y'all's favorite, easiest to use, parent-friendly and kid-friendly programs to use? And we went through all these different comments and these suggestions and did all kinds of research. And what we landed on was this program called Liberty University Online Academy. It is directly affiliated with Liberty University in Virginia. And so they created this online homeschool program for kids K through all the way through high school, which was cool. Another thing that I liked about that was because it was all online, I didn't have to buy all these books and I didn't have to come up with these lesson plans. Everything was done for you. It was like super seamless, but also it had a biblical route to it. So one of the classes was Bible. And so I did still want them to have those Bible classes. I wanted them still to learn about the Old Testament and the New Testament and the things that it said. So I loved that. I loved the affiliation of that. And there was a couple other perks that I did like. So with Liberty, I live in Texas, by the way, so I could still use the Liberty program from Virginia, and it would still be okay for moms in Texas that are homeschooling. But they had a couple of other perks. One of them included, and this is their promotion right now. I don't know when you're listening to this, it could change. But whenever I signed my kids up, they had this promotion to where if they go all the way through as a full-time student with Liberty University Online Academy, all the way through high school, and they graduate, then what they could do is they could get 50% off their on-campus tuition to go to Liberty University in Virginia, if they so chose. So if my kids decide they're going to go all the way through with Liberty, full-time student, graduate as a Liberty grad, and if they wanted to go to college one day, then we were going to be okay with it. And they could get it for 50% off. They could go to Virginia and they could start their college journey there. So that was a really cool perk. Blaine and I are not necessarily the kind of parents that are going to push the college idea either. That might sound a little, what are you talking about? I actually went to college. I got my bachelor's degree. My husband has a GED. Yeah. He didn't even graduate from high school, but I think that's probably why we have that outlook on, you know what, whatever our kids want to do as far as what they're gifted at, what they're going to go into, what they would like to study, they might not need a college degree. There's actually a Instagram account that I follow. It's called Degree Free. And it's this really cool girl. And she talks about all of these different professions that you can actually do without needing to go to college and spend 4 years in a university. And you could do it right whenever you graduate from high school. It's really interesting. I think that things are kind of shifting now because definitely my generation, whenever I was in high school and college, that was what you do. You go to high school, you go to college, and you get your degree. That's just what you do. You do that, one, because it was socially acceptable, but then two, you were always taught that to have a higher education, you're going to get a bigger paycheck. But we're seeing nowadays that that is actually not as true with the way things are going. Social media has entered the picture. AI has entered the picture. All of these different factors in this generation that college is actually not looking as appealing on top of all of the debt that comes with that. So it's interesting. And then, of course, I look at my husband, for example. My husband, even though he has a GED, he is still a very successful guy. His educational background was he was homeschooled a little bit. He didn't go to high school. He got his GED. After he got his GED, a couple years later, he went to New York City and was in drumming school because he wanted to be a drummer. He was like, I know this is what I want to do with my life. And so his parents were awesome about it. And they just sent him over to New York City to drumming school. And he got his certification of whatever that is in drumming. And he became a very successful musician, which was so cool to see that he could do that. And he's brilliant. He is a brilliant, brilliant guy. In fact, there's so many things about Blaine that are so amazing that I'm just blown away by as far as his intellect that is really neat that did not come from a college education. Not only did he become a very successful musician without a degree, but he also was very successful at real estate and investing. So he does all these other things that he does to provide for our family without a college degree. So again, we don't have this die hard set mindset like our kids are going to go to college one day. We just don't. So if my kids, we decide to go through Liberty all the way through high school, if they want to go to college, we're going to welcome that. We're saving on the side to save up for that if they want to go. And if they don't, and if they find a trade that they want to do, we're going to welcome that too. We don't have this big expectation with our kids. So yes, anyway, that's the program we chose, was Liberty University Online Academy. And the price was actually pretty good compared to private school because private school is expensive. It's very, very expensive, huge sacrifice. We were willing to make that sacrifice because we weren't willing to put them in a public school. So that sacrifice was really over the top, but the price difference was astronomically different. I mean, I live in the Fort Worth area. It can go upwards to almost, if you have two kids in private school, it can be like between $15,000 and $20,000 sometimes, depending on the school. It's expensive. It's very, very expensive. But with Liberty, I think it's like $500 per class, per kid. So each of my kids, they're full-time, so they're doing 5 classes, and I think it was like $500 per class. So with both children, 10 classes, I think we spent $5,000 for their homeschool program. So pretty reasonable for us compared to what we were already doing. Other programs are probably way less. There's a lot out there. And I think that's what was really encouraging to me is homeschooling has changed so much. It is so much more accessible. It is so much easier to do compared to my generation and then the generations before me. It is so much easier. So hearing other people's testimonies, seeing how this Liberty program was actually very user-friendly and very easy on me. I just wanted to find something easy on me for my first year that doesn't give me as many headaches, and I can knock it out in the morning with them and just be done with it. And I'll give you my honest thoughts. We're now in the month of November. So we started in August, September, October. This is our 4th month. I would not trade it for the world. This was 100% the right decision for our family, and our children will tell you exactly the same thing. We are absolutely loving it. So here's our schedule. Okay. Again, schedule. We really don't have a schedule, but what happens is we get up in the morning. I usually get up around 7:30, just naturally. I sit there with my coffee and I read the word. Usually the kids get up around 8:30, 9 o'clock. And they eat their breakfast. And after I'm done reading the word and having my quiet time, I'll say, okay, it's time to go to school. So Lace and Hugh are very, very different. Lace is in 6th grade and she is very independent. She wants to do everything by herself. She is kind of a perfectionist. And so she wants to be able to do it the right way. So she's very meticulous in the way that she does things. So I have never had to be looking over her shoulder at all of her lessons to make sure that she's really doing anything. Obviously, there's going to be times where she comes in if she has a question on math or if she has a question about something, and I'll help her with that, or I'll look it up myself and figure out what it means. But it's been great. She's been able to really basically do it on her own, which is so easy for me. And then with my son, he's in 3rd grade. And so what happens with us is we go into his little room. We have a little desk area set up for him, and we open up the computer, and the program has all of the modules for each subject. So we'll click on Bible and it'll tell us what the lesson is for that day for Bible. And we'll go through the Bible lesson. And then they might ask us to draw a picture or to write a little, essay on something. If we do, we'll take a photo of that. I'll email it to myself and then submit it into the program. And then that's it. We'll move on to history, and we'll learn some things about history. And we'll just read through the module together. I'll have him read some things. I'll read some things. Then we'll move on to language arts. And this is not his favorite, but we're going to read, little books. They recommend little books that we're going to be reading for the week. One is The Boxcar Children, The Courage of Sarah Noble, Flat Stanley. Another one was The Detective Camp. Something about detective camp. I don't know. There was all these little books that we've been reading, and it's been super fun. And then, of course, learning how to do handwriting and taking some handwriting practice and some little essays. So we'll do that. Then we'll move on to math, which he's a math whiz. We get math done super quick. Even the new concepts, he just figures it out on his own, which is great. I'm just looking over his shoulder, making sure he turns in stuff properly. And then we'll move on to science. There's little science experiments that we do sometimes, and we'll have to record him explaining this experiment, and then we'll upload that video to the program. And I am not kidding, with his lessons from top to bottom, from Bible all the way down to science, we're able to get done in a given day for one day's lessons, probably between an hour and a half and 2 hours. If I'm being totally honest. Sometimes it's way quicker. Sometimes it can go down as low as 45 minutes. And he is done. Like done. And honestly, Lace is not far behind. So there's certain days, guys, that we can do 2, 3, 4 days of lessons, and it might take 4 hours or 5 hours, and we would be done for almost the entire week. So that's what's been really, really cool, is they've been able to catch up and be ahead in their lessons. If we have to go somewhere, go out of town, for example, we're going to have to go out of town for Thanksgiving. They have Thanksgiving off naturally. They still have the holidays with their homeschool program. So they'll give them a week off for Thanksgiving, or they'll give them a few days off for Christmas, whatever it is. So they still have holidays. But we can get it done early and we can be ahead. And then we wouldn't have to worry about doing any kind of school if we traveled. But the cool thing is, if we do travel and if they do have to bring their computer, they can just do it wherever we're at. We can bring our computer. As long as they have their computer, they'll just do school wherever we're at and they can get it done, which is super cool. But if we ever did run across any concept or lesson that I had no idea how to help her with, Lace in particular, because this 6th grade stuff like algebra, like forget it. I'm not going to be able to help her with that. But they have like a whole teacher hotline. You can call a teacher can walk her through it. You can email your teacher. So everything is super accessible. You can get extra tutoring if you're struggling in a certain subject. But then I have access to all of their grades. I can see all of their grades, their progress every single day, what's going on. So personally, this program has been the easiest for a first-time homeschooling mom who doesn't really care about having a bunch of books and a bunch of lesson plans and a bunch of papers everywhere that you have to submit to the state and all of that. I didn't want to have to deal with all that mess. So this was the perfect choice for us. And again, my kids will tell you exactly the same thing. They have not missed out. In fact, I think that their social life has almost doubled since we've started homeschooling, because now they have lots of time to not only hang out together with each other, but we have used this time to be intentional to spend time with their friends. So Hugh still has tons of friends over at his school from his class that he absolutely loves, and Lace, same thing. But I will go over to their old school and pick up, like Hugh's friend, for example, he's got this one little bestie and a few others too, but this one particular bestie, I'll go on a Friday and I'll just pick him up from school and they will have little play dates. We have play dates all the time with their friends still, so they're not missing out on this social interaction. And being that I'm spending time with both of my kids, an hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe even 3 hours a day on their lessons, I had to sit back and think, you know what? I kind of was already sort of doing that when they were in regular school. They would go to school all day for 8 hours, and then they would go after school to all of their after school extracurricular activities. And then they would come home and then they had homework. And sometimes that homework would take an hour. Sometimes it would take an hour and a half, depending on what the homework was. And then I had to divide that time between the two. So sometimes that hour had to double to be 2 hours because I have 2 kids. So already I was having to spend that time working with them and teaching them and explaining things to them. But it was just at the end of the day when they were exhausted and when I was exhausted and when tempers were high and when we were a little bit overwhelmed and tears would start flowing. And so I had to remind myself, I'm just doing the same exact thing, but in the morning and slow and calm and quieter. And it's a little bit easier for our lifestyle. And of course, Blaine has actually recently taken a little break from touring. So he's been home quite a bit for the last 6 weeks. And so he's been here with us. And we had to also kind of look at each other and think, we really don't have an excuse. We don't have 8 to 5 jobs. We don't have a 9 to 5. We don't go every single day into an office. We're here. If we're here, we're here. I work from home. And if he's here, he's home. And so I didn't have this excuse to put them in an institution for 8 hours a day where I'm not with them. And I'm not seeing their little intricacies and little growth things and their little humor that yeah, sure, I see it whenever they're home with me on the weekends, and I see it in the morning, or I see it in the evening whenever they're home with me. But so much time during the day that I don't get with my babies. And I started kind of grieving thinking about that. Like, I want as much time with these 2 precious gifts as I possibly can. I want to be able to see their growth. I want to be able to see their little personalities. I want to be able to recognize things within their character that maybe we need to work on and refine. So a lot of people say, like, it is so hard to homeschool. It's also really hard to put them into a school all day long. It's like you have to choose what's hard for you. And I had to sit back and think, what do I want to choose as hard? The downsides of homeschooling for me has always been, I think I'm going to be a mean mom. I'm going to be the mean mom. They're going to resent me. I'm going to have no patience with them, because already patience is a fruit of the spirit that I struggle with sometimes. Sometimes I can get impatient and snappy, and I didn't want them to grow up and just to be so frustrated with me because of that. I want to have a good relationship with my kids right now, and then I want them to feel like they had a childhood where their mommy really loved them and that their mommy tried and that they felt safe with their mommy. And so I didn't want to put myself in a position where I could potentially ruin that. And so I was very fearful about that. But then also I had to think, you know what? I probably need to grow in this fruit of the Spirit anyway. So do I want to allow the Lord to sharpen me and sharpen this fruit of the Spirit within me that might be lacking a little bit? Do I want that? Or am I so afraid that I'm going to fail that it's just easier for me to just put them in regular school, and I don't want to have to deal with the consequences of my own failure? And I just started thinking, God, if homeschooling my kids is going to be the way that you refine me as a person, as a mom, in this fruit of the Spirit, then I'll do it. I'll go ahead and do it. I think that that's worth that sacrifice, to be willing to say, Father, I want you to uproot anything within me that doesn't belong. And if it doesn't align perfectly with the fruits of the Spirit, and if there's things that you need to teach me, then I'm willing to do that. I'll go ahead and do that. So in any case, you just have to choose your hard. You have to choose which hard you want to pick, whether that's the hard of having them away from you all day long, or the hard of having them with you all day long, and you might lose your temper once or twice. Be very honest with you. There's been moments where I'm like, Father God, I need your help. But throughout these 4 months, I have seen the Lord do things in my heart. I have allowed him to say, okay, that was wrong. You messed up. And it's okay to apologize to your kids and to let your kids know, Mommy did not handle that right. And I should have had more patience there. And will you forgive me? And them seeing that there's actual repentance in Mommy, and that there's change in Mommy, and that we're learning each other, and we're learning how to deal with this new situation, and we're growing. We have grown so much as a family. I can't even begin to describe how much we've grown in our closeness, in our relationship, in our desire to want more of the things of the Lord, in the things that we're learning about each other. It's interesting because Lace and Hugh, they're so different. But Hugh, because he's not as vibrant and loud and vocal and theatrical as my daughter, sometimes he tends to fade into the background with his little personality. He's very sweet. He's very gentle. He's very accommodating. He's very tender-hearted, very sensitive. But I have, and this is going to make me want to cry. I'm not going to cry. But I have seen little parts of his character that have flourished so much with this one-on-one teaching with homeschooling with me and him. And I've seen his humor come out in ways that I did not expect. I always thought he was funny, but his little humor is blossoming so much that I'm seeing this new side to my son that I would hear his teachers tell me. They would tell me the funniest little stories that he would do, but I wouldn't really see that a ton here at the house. And I'm seeing it. I'm seeing what his teachers would see. I am seeing this side of him that is so smart and so capable, and his confidence has blossomed so much with this one-on-one time, with the security of being at home. It's just been so amazing for him and for me as a mom to see God has really anointed my son in a lot of ways. And I don't know if I would really notice that until later in his life if he was still at school with other people all day long. And then, of course, again, this is a great opportunity for me to steward my daughter's heart as she's entering puberty and as she's entering this new season of her life, which, of course, this age, 11, 12, it's only going to get harder. Girl drama is insane during this age. That's when it really started for me growing up, was the girl drama was really, really tough from that age all the way through high school. It was tough. And so not to shelter her from relationships, not to shelter her from having a social life, because she has a beautiful social life, but it's been good for her, I think, to be able to separate ourselves from unnecessary issues and unnecessary drama. So all that to say, we're liking it. We're enjoying it. It's good for our little family. I think that we might stick with it. I think that the benefits that I'm seeing with us is too much for us to choose to go back to private school at this point. Again, no issues with our private school before. It was nearly perfect. And every season of life is going to be different. We don't know what next year is going to look like. We don't know what the following years are going to look like. But so far, guys, so good. So far, so good. I cannot recommend it enough, especially if you have a lifestyle where you can keep them home with you. If you have that option, do it. Do it. It's so crazy because especially in really, and again, people dog on public school. Yes, public school can be definitely difficult, but I look at so many people that I grew up with that went to private school all the way throughout, and they deal with the same kind of stuff, the same crap that public schools deal with. Private school kids deal with it too. They just happen to have money and they have more access to stuff that public school kids also dabble with too. So again, there's going to be stuff all over the place. And I just think that for us right now, homeschooling has been a little bit of a better decision for our personal family. So that is my thoughts and that is my take on homeschooling. If you have any other questions about it, I would love to answer those questions. So again, you can go to my website, hannahcruzblog.com/podcast, and you can ask those questions there. You can follow me on Instagram at hannahcruz.blog and type your questions there. We can put them in the group chat. I can even have the group chat on the next episode. We will see if you had any further questions about homeschooling and how our experience has been so far and what your hesitations are. We can discuss those things there. I think that I included everything. I don't think that I left anything out, but I have really enjoyed talking about this with you guys. This has been really fun. Hopefully this was a fun episode. We talked about the juicy. We talked about some of the things you guys said. We talked about our experience with homeschooling, and next episode, we will discuss something else that will be a lot of fun. So be sure to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, subscribe on YouTube. Please give us a 5-star review. This Lighten Up podcast has been a blast so far. Again, beginning stages, but it's been so much fun. Also, please share this podcast with your friends. Any of the episodes that have spoken to you, please share them on social media. Send them in a text to your friends. Say, hey, listen to this podcast, subscribe to this podcast. And if you would like to support the show, you can always go to Amazon and grab a copy of either devotional that I wrote. The first one is called Goodness Gracious, 90 Unfiltered Devotions for This Sometimes Too Serious Life, really surrounding the topic of joy. A lot of my testimony is in there, a lot of funny stories that really talk about how to grow in the joy of the Lord. Or you can grab a copy of A Confidence That Changes Everything, Devotions to Shine Bright in This Topsy-Turvy Life, all on the topic of confidence. You can grab those on Amazon to support the show. And again, I love you guys so much. I'm obsessed with Jesus. I'm obsessed with the fact that we get this new outlet to hang out together as girlfriends. Thank you so much for watching the Lighten Up podcast. And don't forget to lighten up, because there is so much joy in Jesus. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.